Have you ever thought about all the little bits of data your business is probably just throwing away each day? I mean, just like the normal day-to-day stuff, like how your equipment is running. You know what I mean? What if I told you that all that information might actually be a gold mine and that you could turn it into a whole new stream of income?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today.
Nice.
Yeah, we're going to dive into this huge ocean of data that your business generates every single day, basically just by doing what it normally does.
Right.
And we're going to explore how you can actually unlock its hidden potential and use it to create some really amazing revenue streams.
This is a pretty exciting topic for sure. We're going to be covering a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the concept of underutilized data and how to recycle information that might seem useless at first glance.
Right.
We'll also look at how to integrate data from manual processes. And most importantly, we'll show you how to transform all this raw data into a real profit-generating asset. Okay, so let's start with this whole idea of an untapped gold mine of data. What exactly are we talking about here?
Well, the thing is, businesses are already collecting tons of data every single day, from sensor readings to system logs to customer transactions. It's all just flowing in. But as we saw in the briefing, a lot of companies are struggling to actually use this data. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Jonathan Saunders from Lumos LLC put it really well. He said it's like having a library full of books, but you can't read any of them because you don't have the key.
So true. It reminds me of that analogy in the material we were looking at. They compared business data to the byproducts of organic waste. It's like all those things we usually think of as trash, right?
Right.
But with a little ingenuity, they can actually be transformed into something valuable, like methane gas for energy or compost for fertilizer.
Absolutely, and that's exactly the point. We need to start seeing business data not as waste, but as a valuable resource. And the potential here is enormous. Just think about all the sensor data that's generated from machinery maintenance. Most companies are just using this to react when something breaks down.
Yeah, just to fix things when they go wrong.
But if you analyze that data, you can do so much more. You can actually predict when maintenance will be needed. And that means you can schedule it proactively and avoid those expensive downtime periods.
That makes a lot of sense. So we're not just fixing problems, we're preventing them.
Exactly, and that's just one example. The briefing also highlighted that a lot of businesses have already invested in the infrastructure to collect data. They have the sensors in place and the systems to record it, but they're missing the next crucial step, which is putting in place the right data management strategies to really make the most of this information.
So they've got all the ingredients, but they don't know how to cook the meal.
Exactly. And on top of all that underutilized data, there's also all the data that's just being ignored or discarded. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like stuff that seems unimportant at the time.
Right, exactly. And this is where the concept of recycling discarded data comes in. The briefing actually compared it to composting.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, it's taking something that you might just throw away and turning it into something incredibly useful. So by going back and reanalyzing data that was previously considered unimportant, you can actually uncover some really valuable insights that you might have missed the first time around. And you also avoid wasting that precious data.
It's like cleaning out your attic and finding a box of old photos.
Yeah.
You didn't realize how valuable they were until you took another look.
Precisely. And speaking of overlooked data, we also need to talk about the data that's generated from manual processes. A lot of businesses are missing out on this because they haven't figured out how to integrate it with their digital data stream.
Right, because so much of business still happens offline.
Exactly. Think about all the information that's being recorded manually on production floor logs or in handwritten notes. All of that data is valuable, but it's often just sitting there in a silo. So how do we bring it all together?
Well, the key is to find ways to document and seamlessly integrate those manual inputs into your digital data stream. And that's where things get really interesting, because when you have a more complete and comprehensive data set, your analytical capabilities just explode.
I can see how that would be a game changer.
You start to see a much clearer picture of your operations, and you can identify those hidden correlations and trends that you might have missed before. And that's how you make smarter, more informed decisions.
Okay, so let's talk about the money part. How do we actually transform all this raw data into something that generates revenue? The briefing mentioned the transformation process.
Right. Well, just like those natural byproducts we talked about earlier, raw data usually needs to be transformed before it can be truly valuable. Think of it like refining crude oil into gasoline. It's a process that takes time and effort.
So where does this transformation process actually happen?
It often starts right at the edge, which is basically the physical location where the data is first generated, like a sensor on a piece of machinery. And then it often gets moved to the cloud for further processing and refinement. And the good news is businesses don't have to build all of this from scratch anymore, because the major cloud providers have stepped in with some pretty amazing tools to help.
Oh, that's great to hear. I was wondering about that.
Yeah, these tools are really powerful, and they're becoming more and more accessible all the time. For example, Amazon Web Services, AWS, has a service called AWS Glue. It's a serverless data integration service that makes it super easy to prepare and combine data for analysis and machine learning.
So AWS Glue does all the heavy lifting.
Exactly. And it even has a feature called Schema Registry, which helps manage those pesky, evolving data formats. And then there's Microsoft Azure with its Azure Data Factory. This service is designed to integrate all sorts of different data sources, whether they're on your own servers or in the cloud, and turn them into nicely curated data sets that you can actually use.
It's so convenient.
And last but not least, we have a Google Cloud Platform, GCP, with Google Cloud Data Flow. This is a fully managed service that can handle both real-time data streams and batch data processing.
Wow, so many options.
These tools are like having a team of expert data chefs working for you. They take your raw data ingredients and they clean them, chop them, and prepare them into a delicious and digestible meal that you can actually analyze and use to make better decisions. And the best part is these tools are becoming more affordable all the time. So even smaller businesses can now access the same kind of data processing power that was once only available to giant corporations.
That's amazing. It really levels the playing field.
Yeah, and it opens up so many new possibilities for businesses of all sizes.
Okay, so this is all starting to make sense. But how do we actually know what kind of revenue potential is hidden within our data? It seems like it could be overwhelming to even know where to start.
That's a great question. And it's something that a lot of businesses struggle with. The truth is, there's no magic formula for finding those hidden gems. But there are some things you can do to increase your chances of success. And one of the most important things is to create a culture of data exploration and utilization within your organization.
So you're talking about more than just technology. It's a mindset shift.
Right. You need to encourage your team to be curious and to actively look for those unexpected patterns and insights that might be hiding in your data. And that means providing them with the right tools and training and giving them the freedom to experiment.
So it's about empowering your team to become data detectives.
Exactly. And the more you explore your data, the more likely you are to uncover those valuable insights that can lead to new revenue streams.
This has been so helpful. Let's bring it all together now and talk about how this translates into real-world financial benefits. The outline mentioned an example with OEMs.
Yeah, let's get specific. Now think about all the machine data that your organization is generating every day. All those performance metrics, usage patterns, and diagnostic codes. It's a treasure trove of information, and it's not just valuable to you, it's also incredibly valuable to the OEMs, the companies that built that equipment.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about it from their perspective.
They're constantly looking for ways to improve their products, and there's no better way to do that than by getting real-world performance data from their customers.
So we could potentially sell this data to them.
Exactly, and that's where the idea of performance data sharing comes in. You can take all of that machine data and turn it into valuable reports that the OEMs would be willing to pay for, either through reduced support costs or by directly buying the data from you. It's a win-win situation because they get the insights they need to build better products, and you get a new revenue stream.
That's a fantastic idea.
The briefing highlighted two potential models for this. One is to offer reduced support costs to OEMs who subscribe to a data sharing program. So they get access to your valuable performance data, and in return, you might get a better deal on your support contracts.
So they get the data and we save money on support. That makes a lot of sense.
And the other model is to simply sell the data outright to the OEMs. They're always looking for real-world data to fuel their research and development efforts. So they might be willing to pay a premium for access to your data.
So what was once considered just a byproduct of our operations could actually become a valuable commodity in itself. That's a pretty incredible shift in perspective.
Absolutely. And it's a perfect example of how data can be transformed from a cost center into a profit center. By viewing your data through the lens of your supplier's needs, you can unlock entirely new revenue streams with minimal additional effort.
This has been a truly eye-opening discussion. I think the key takeaway here is that businesses are often sitting on a mountain of data that they haven't even begun to explore. And by taking the time to properly manage, transform, and analyze this data, we can unlock some truly incredible value and even create entirely new revenue streams.
That's a great summary. And it's not just about the technology, it's about changing the way we think about data and recognizing its true potential as a strategic asset.
So to all of you listeners out there, I want to challenge you to take a closer look at the data your organization is generating every day. Don't just discard it without a second thought, because there might be a hidden gold mine waiting to be discovered. Think about that OEM example we just discussed. What if you could turn your machine data into a valuable product that other businesses would be willing to pay for? What other hidden opportunities might be lurking within your data? The possibilities are endless. Thanks for joining us today.